So the theme for today's service is the book called All I Really Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten by Robert Fulghum. Now, I first read this book when I was in high school, and I liked it so much. I don't even know where I found it or got a hold of it or knew about it, but I read it. I read the paperback, and I liked it so much I gave my book to my best friend because I knew she had to read it too. And this was all before I became a Unitarian Universalist. And obviously there was something in this middle-aged man's musings that resonated with me as a teenager. How strange is that? The subtitle of the book is called Uncommon Thoughts, Uncommon Things. And maybe that's what resonated with me. Or perhaps it was something about his worldview, which I know now is a very you worldview that grabbed me. Of course, I had no idea he was a Unitarian Universalist minister until long after I had become a Unitarian Universalist. So there's a strong case to say that Robert Fulghum was my first ever Unitarian Universalist minister, even though I had no idea at the time. Now, Robert Fulghum is 82 years old. He's had 3 divorces, 4 grown children, and many grandchildren. He splits his time between the mountains of Utah and the Greek Isle of Crete. That sounds really nice right now, doesn't it? But I think it's a really good time to revisit him and some of his writing right now. For me, his writing about the simple pleasures in life is comforting in these unsettling times. His wit and humor are good too, but yet his writing is more than folksy musings on simplicity. His writing is also firmly grounded in reality, a reality where bad things do happen and living things die. So I'm going to share with you the words that made him famous. It is the kindergarten essay of decades ago. And let's see what it has to say to us in this time and place. Each spring for many years, I have set myself the task of writing a personal statement of belief, a credo. When I was younger, the statement ran for many pages, trying to cover every base with no loose ends. It sounded like a Supreme Court brief, as if the words could resolve all conflicts about the meaning of existence. The credo has grown shorter in recent years, sometimes cynical, sometimes comical, sometimes bland. But I keep working at it. Recently, I set out to get the statement of personal belief down to 1 page in simple terms, fully understanding the naive idealism that implied. The inspiration for brevity came to me at a gasoline station. I managed to fill an old car's tank with super deluxe, high-octane Go Juice. My old car couldn't handle it and got the willies, kept sputtering out at intersections and belching going downhill. I understood. My mind and my spirit get like that from time to time. Too much high content information, and I get the existential willies. Keep sputtering out at intersections where life choices must be made, and I either know too much or not enough. The examined life is no picnic. I realized then that I already know most of what's necessary to live a meaningful life, that it isn't all that complicated. I know it and have known it for a long, long time. Living it, well, that's another matter, yes? Here's my credo. All I really need to know about how to live and what to do and how to be, I learned in kindergarten. Wisdom was not at the top of the graduate school mountain, but there in the sand pile at Sunday school. These are the things I learned. Share everything. Play fair. Don't hit people. Put things back where you found them. Clean up your own mess. Don't take things that aren't yours. Say you're sorry when you hurt somebody. Wash your hands before you eat. Flush. Warm cookies and cold milk are good for you. Live a balanced life. Learn some and think some, and draw and paint and sing and dance and play and work every day some. Take a nap every afternoon. When you go out into the world, watch out for traffic, hold hands, and stick together. Be aware of wonder. Remember the little seed in the styrofoam cup? The roots go down and the plant goes up, and nobody really knows how or why, but we are all like that. Goldfish and hamsters and white mice and even the little seed in the styrofoam cup, they all die. So do we. And then remember the Dick and Jane books and the first word you learned, the biggest word of all. Look. Everything you need to know is in there somewhere. The golden rule and love and basic sanitation, ecology and politics and equality and sane living. Take any one of those items and extrapolate it into sophisticated adult terms and apply it to your family, life, or your work, or your government, or your world, and it holds true and clear and firm. Think what a better world it would be if we all, the whole world, had cookies and milk about 3 o'clock every afternoon and then lay down with our blankies for a nap. Or if all governments had a basic policy to always put things back where they found them and to clean up their own mess. And it is still true no matter how old you are. When you go out into the world, it is best to hold hands and stick together. So in today's world, holding hands and sticking together, especially if that means being closer than 6 feet apart, sounds a little bit ill-advised, but it still works perfectly so well as a metaphor. And he did mention hand washing. Can you believe it? Those are some seriously prophetic words from many years ago. But people really do need to stick together and to work together for the good of all, especially in the time of a global crisis. But yet political divisions are getting in the way. At the same time, I believe most people are actually craving a sense of unity and togetherness. After all, the first item on the kindergarten list is share everything. And we need to be working together to clean up this mess we're in. In my kind of lighthearted analysis of Robert Fulghum's kindergarten list, I noticed that the first 9 lines, starting with share everything and ending with flush, is all about getting along with others and keeping everyone safe. Now, so this part really isn't only just part of a credo. You could call this part a covenant of positive relations for all who agree to buy in. And then the next part of the kindergarten list is really about self-care, from cookies and milk to life balance, naps, reaching out to others, and even wonder. I mean, who doesn't feel better about themselves and the world after having an experience of awe or wonder? And then the final part of the kindergarten list is the final part, you could say. It's a reminder that our lives are not infinite, and also that we must look. He writes look in capital letters, all caps. It's a very big look. And I kind of think of this look, I look at this as the same way as when the Buddha asks us to awaken and expand our consciousness, to look, to live fully in the face of our finite existence. Look. Be aware of the miracle of life that surrounds you because it won't last forever. Now, what Robert Fulghum in his essay doesn't tell us is that having a credo or a statement of belief is a very you thing. In fact, we have a curriculum for middle schoolers called Coming of Age. And in this class, the middle schoolers they work with adult mentors to think through and articulate their personal beliefs, their own personal credo. And this class usually culminates with the middle schoolers reading their personal statement of beliefs in front of the whole congregation. And what I can tell you, when this happens, there is a lot of crying. And it's all the adults who are the ones crying, because there is something extremely touching about seeing a young person vulnerably expose all that is important to them in their young life. And after time, this process became so popular that adults started to ask for their own coming of age class, which sounds a little counterintuitive. So now there is an adult coming of age curriculum in which adults get to think through and create their own credo, their personal statement of belief. So I'd like for us to offer both classes for middle schoolers and for adults in the near future. So let me know if this idea excites you and we can make it happen, whether it's for you as an adult or for your middle schoolers. So in January 2020, just a few months ago, Robert Fulghum wrote a reflection that I'll share with you now. It's actually an update to his kindergarten list. He calls it the codicil to the operating manual. All right, he writes, is the kindergarten credo still valid in your own thinking? A question I was asked on New Year's Day, and my answer was simply yes. And then I was asked if it was consciously operable now in my daily life. When I replied yes and no, I was asked to explain, and I said I would have to think about it. And so I have. After some consideration, I made an updated list of personal active operating rules. I'll call it Fulghum's Manual 2.0. It's not intended as advice to anybody else or the last word in spiritual wisdom. It's just what I find myself thinking from time to time and day to day. But first, don't misunderstand. I think the kindergarten rules are wired deep into my psyche. That was the point of the credo. I don't need to consciously drive into town thinking, remember not to hit anybody today. But first, okay, I admit I don't always put things back where I found them or clean up my own mess. I do think about doing that, but I live alone and don't have to consider anybody else. I do abide by those rules, just not immediately or even daily, just usually. That explains missing tools and occasional mess in the kitchen sink. And I still think that warm cookies and cold milk and a nap are good for me. I don't consciously think about that either. I just do it. The kindergarten essay was written 40 years ago. I'll still stand by its truth. But now I realize there are some more adult ideas and admonitions that are also active on a regular basis, applicable to the life I live now as I plunge on into the new year. The list is not very succinct, not in the form of clever aphorisms or wise sayings. It's like the checklist that pilots of planes use before they fly. For what it's worth, here's my current operating manual, directed at me. Having been around a while, I'm acutely aware that most people are carrying baggage of their own, in the form of sorrows, mistakes, fears, health issues, and all those large and small negative knots that are woven into the fabric of their lives, from both long ago and this past week. Everybody wants to love and be loved. Everybody is afraid of something. So I try to be consciously empathetic and often say to myself, just be kind. That's not always easy, but I try. The list continues. Don't believe everything I think. Don't trust everything I feel. Don't immediately act on what I think and feel. Click on the delete icon as often as I click on send. Do not ever think I know what someone else really thinks or feels. Remember that nobody else knows what I really think or feel either. Mind reading is confusing at best and toxic at its worst. Life goes best when I make the best of the way life is going. It's not weird if it works. Expectation and intention shape experience. So expect and intend the best. Prepare to be lucky. Every difficult situation contains opportunities. Keep my mind loose and open. Opportunity knocks, but it does not nag. Practice the art of festina lente. Keep on going, but don't hurry. Distraction, impatience, and laziness are the potholes in the ongoing road. Be a player, not a spectator. Avoid ruts, make a new path. If I always do what I've always done, I'll always get what I always got. Above all, demand of myself the old Greek notion of eudaimonia, the flourishing life, remembering that the lotus blooms out of the muck it's in. There, that's a sum of what passes through my daily life when I check my active operating manual before taking off into the world. I don't pretend to live up to those items every day, but they represent the best of my intentions. I wonder if your Manual 2.0 resembles mine. All right, so that's the end of his update, his 2.0. So you can see Robert Fulghum's credo has grown to include ideas that might be more difficult for a kindergartner to grasp, but still very relatable to adults who have some living under their belts. The new list also contains a lot of tips for better interpersonal relationships and better self-understanding and awareness. And somewhere on the journey from age 40 to 80-something, compassion and kindness also made its way into the credo. And I love that image of a flourishing life, the lotus that blooms out of the muck, especially when just coping, let alone flourishing, seems so hard right now. What can we do to flourish despite the mucky and murky existence we're experiencing right now? So I hope you'll consider what might go into your own personal credo and how that credo might be of use in this hard time. Or it might be time to dust off an old statement of belief, even if it's a statement that exists only in your mind, and get to work preparing a Manual 2.0. We can all use an upgrade occasionally. But at the very least, I hope today you have found some words of inspiration or of comfort, whether it's encouragement to reconnect with your sense of wonder or better balance your life or beef up your ability to be kind and compassionate. Like the seed in the paper cup, because styrofoam is so not cool these days, the roots go down and the plant goes up. And we are like that, Robert Fulghum says. So if there's ever time to find grounding and rootedness, this is it. All the while stretching up to meet the light. Amen and blessed be. All right, now it is that time for the offering. Thank you all so much for keeping up your monthly contributions so our church can keep running while we're at home, and to help guarantee that there is a physical church to return to when it's okay for all of us to do so. You're welcome to use this offering time to sit down and write a check to prepare to mail to the church or to go online. The link is in the chat. And the instructions are on your screen. Just keep in mind that we like credit card gifts, but they come with some pretty hefty fees. And thank you all so much for attending to your pledges during this time. It's very important, and you're all doing such a great job. Thank you so much. Our offering will now be given and gratefully received. In case you didn't recognize the voice, that was Paul Simon, and the song is I Know What I Know, and it's from a really popular album of his called Graceland, and is actually, I just realized, the exact same vintage of the Robert Fulghum book we're talking about today. And the Graceland album, as you can tell, was really influenced by the music of South Africa. So I would like to share with you another reading from Robert Fulghum, another very contemporary one. This was a blog entry of his that he wrote regarding the coronavirus pandemic, and it is from back in March. It is not my way to tell other people how to think or feel or live their lives. I can only speak for myself. Here's what I think and live by. I believe that all living things exist under hazardous conditions. We carry out daily life in a state of emergency. To take the sheet off your face and get out of bed is to take a chance. We gamble that we will make it through the day and back to bed again. It is a betting situation based on the belief that the risk is worth the reward. But there is no guarantee. Even where I live here in the mountains, it's dangerous. Between my house and town, there are drunk drivers on the highway, hunters in the woods, lightning from the sky, falling boulders, and unruly germs on the loose. There are wandering cows and suicidal deer that will leap onto my car at any turn in the road. Plus free-range tourists looking at scenery and not at the highway. And because it is spring, rattlesnakes and bears will be coming out of hibernation. Black widow and brown recluse spiders, scorpions, and deadly bees will appear. There is much to fear no matter where one is. There was a time when I did not exist, and the time will come when I will not exist again. But I was here today. The odds are that I will be here tomorrow. I believe that things turn out best for those who make the best of the way things turn out, one day at a time, and as long as life lasts, one may make being alive as meaningful as one has the will and courage to make it. I am not purely a pessimist or an optimist, just a stubborn realist. Or, as a Czech friend says, a constructive pessimist. I have lived my way into the truth of what I believe. As I finish writing to you, I have just looked at the videos of the Italians quarantined in their apartments, singing together from their balconies, playing guitars, drinking wine, laughing. Every situation offers opportunities for foolish joy. I know that to be true. Tomorrow is another day. Years from now, we will have passed through this fearful, foggy swamp of the unknown unknowns into the daylight where we can see clearly the facts of the known knowns. We will know what we passed through once again. We will have survived. We will have prevailed. And we will go on because there is no place to go but on. Good night. Sleep loose. With those words, I will extinguish our chalice. So our closing song today is one I think almost everyone will know and recognize, and it's something we all can use a little bit of right now. It's a song called Happy by Pharrell Williams. So please stay logged in if you'd like to join in for our virtual coffee time chat, or join us again this afternoon at 12:30 for Yoga Sutras, or 2 p.m. for Children's Religious Exploration. Look forward to seeing you soon, even if it is in a little rectangle on a screen. My friends, go in peace. Go with the joy of simple pleasures, knowing in the depth of your soul that happiness can never be canceled. Amen.